Hey everyone, Shayne here from Styles Rebel Radio. I'm here today interviewing Mr. Jake Underwood. You know him from potentially hosting iHeart or potentially off air, or you might have seen him, walking around the Harvard campus at some point, maybe. And he's a big guy. So, Jake, thanks for allowing me to interview you. I know you didn't really have much of a choice, but hey, we're here now.
Well, yeah, no, I'll be honest. When the list came out and I saw it was you, I'm like, all right, very cool. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So, looking forward to it.
Jumping into the first question, this is a good one. What made you pursue media initially? Because it seems like you're pretty well vetted into the community now, So what was the initial okay, I want to do this. I want to make radio my career. I want to make media my career, or anything like that,
So for me, I was I was working at Verizon at the time. So I always knew I was going to get in media at some point.
Okay.
So I graduated from high school in 2011. I actually took a tour of OMS back then.
Okay.
Which is ironic because I would have gone to school with people that I am working with now.
Right.
When they first got into it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Took a tour, but the car that I had at the time would not have been able to handle it. And I'm like, I'm not doing this because I had lived in southern Medina County, the Lodi area. And I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do it. Plus, it's money, all this different stuff. And it's just not feeling right now. I'd feel rushed. So I waited. And I ended up going. I was a multi-store manager at Verizon. I was helping out different stores, different things, making great money.
Oh, yeah, no, I feel like working in phone sales is something that you don't think would be good money until you're in it, and then you're like, whoa,
yeah,
this is...
If you know how to sell, and if you know how to ask the right questions, you can make a lot of money. Commission's very good. Verizon was great. I made some friends that I'm still friends with. My old manager, Carissa, she's like a sister to me. I love her. She's family. Her entire family's family to me.
That's awesome.
But there were some changes up top. I didn't really like the way it was going. And what made me decide to jump into it is because the higher ups at this Verizon were trying to turn me and my friend Carissa against each other.
I know that kind of dynamic, and I hate it.
So I was her assistant store manager. She was the manager, and we worked well together. Every store we were at together, we hit goal. We did a great job. We just know how to work with each other.
Right.
And I remember I called her, and she went off on me. She's, you fucking phony, faking it till you make it, gonna throw me under the fucking butt. Oh yeah, they told her a bunch of stuff. And it got to the point that I'm like, this isn't it.
Were they just feeding her shit?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. So they made it sound like the days that she wasn't there and I was acting manager, I was just walking around basically like, I can do this job better than her.
Oh my
Which
gosh.
is not the case at all.
I hate it. I know I already said this, but when upper management pits two of their coworkers against each other to see which one will come out on top, I hate that shit. Because every company does it. Right. And yeah.
And especially because her and I together, we were a threat. Because I had her back, she had mine. Every meeting we went into, they knew that it was going to be 2 on whoever's coming at us. They knew that.
Right.
And so I just got to the point, I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's just time. I just need to pursue it. I'm making money, but I'm not happy. This is something I know I would be good at. I know I would be good at it. I have the passion for it. I've been listening to radio my entire life. Most kids, when they got home, they'd put on Nickelodeon. Okay. And they would watch it. I'd listen to 100.7 MMS.
Oh, okay.
I'd listen to WTAM. Cool. So I would listen to Triv. I would listen to, at the time, The Maxwell Show.
Right.
And then Java Joel on Kiss FM like that. That's what I would do, because I would just put on a video game, put on the radio, sit down, and I would listen.
That's a good, that's a unique vibe.
Oh,
and not too many. I feel like you don't hear too many people doing that, so that's nice.
And it was great because it was a good way to just escape.
Yeah, 100%.
And so I always wanted to do that. So it was May of 2018. I told my managers at Verizon, I went, hey, I'm going to go part-time. I'm going to school. Going to broadcasting school.
Okay.
They mocked me.
Wow.
Yeah, to the point they in a meeting, they brought up the average pay of a producer in radio as opposed to the pay of somebody at Verizon.
That's awesome.
And mocked me with it. Yeah, and you know me well enough to know that if you're going to do that, I'm going to purposely make sure I'm good at this. Right. So you look like a fucking idiot.
Right. That's good. That was a fire under the butt. That was a fire under the butt.
So I went to school. I never missed a day.
Nice.
So I ended up, my daily commute was from Lodi to the Brecksville location that we had.
Mm-hmm.
From Brecksville, I'd go to Independence
Mm-hmm.
because I was taking night classes.
Okay.
So I would go, I would usually open the store. So I'd be about 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., go to the school, start my classes at 6,
Mm-hmm.
get out of there at 10, and I would do that every single day.
Damn.
Even on days that I didn't have classes, I was in the school.
Right.
I was working on stuff. I had radio shows, all that stuff.
Jumping off that a little bit. So you went to the Ohio Media School, correct?
Yes.
How did you, because I know that's where Jordan got his start too.
Right.
How did you two like end up crossing paths? What's the story there? How did you guys meet and stuff?
Jordan pissed me off.
yeah, that's a common underlier.
I had just heard things about him on air.
Okay.
I never even met him.
Right.
That's the craziest thing. I didn't.
Did you hear him on air ever, like before you met him?
Not really, but I heard that he was really cocky.
Okay.
And mutual people that he knew, that I knew he knew, I didn't like.
Oh, okay. I got you.
So I'm not going to say names.
No, of course.
But it was one of these where I'm like, oh, that dude's
that
a phony,
guy. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So I think it was college radio day.
Mm-hmm.
We did like a long broadcast, and Jordan was one of the people that ended up coming in. And in the back of my head, I'm going, oh, this fucking
right, here we fucking go.
But he sits down and he starts talking, and I'm like, all right, this isn't too bad. Okay, all right. And so we just, we started talking. Then I was in on
Wait, really quick too, just for my own personal context. Is that just you two like sitting down shooting the shit,
no,
or was it like on a show? Or
this
like
it was just a group. It was a all day event, live on air all day.
Oh, okay.
So it was like, I think it was like 6 or 8 people in there.
Oh wow,
yeah.
That's
so
a lot.
we were talking wrestling, football, whatever.
Right. That's pretty interesting.
It was. I think I
seems like a lot, but I mean,
I have a recording of it somewhere.
Yeah.
I just don't know where. And then I was with a friend of ours, Jared Andrews. He was being pursued by somebody who was on the show that he was on, at the Jordan show.
Right.
What was it? Shooting from the Hip.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went in there and we just basically did bits for an hour and a half. Like we did an ASMR because they were saying we were being too loud. Right. So we grabbed keys and we're putting up to the microphone.
That's good. That's
we're
funny.
Like, this is the jingling of keys. Like we had a basketball, so we're scraping the basketball.
This is the sound.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't remember, what I think it was? I think it was the Royal Rumble of like, it would have been before the Royal Rumble of 2020, but because we both like wrestling, we just started talking. He lived in Parma. I lived in Brunswick. So we started hanging out.
Right.
We'd play 2K all night. I mean,
Classic.
We used to start with WWE 2K at like 7:00 at night. And we would play it until 7 a.m.
I love that.
And it got to the point where like Jordan and I would have like 45-minute matches.
Yeah.
Because we got the timing of the kick out. There's one, it was like I was Eddie Guerrero, and I think it was like Batista or something. And the match literally went for like an hour and a half because we just kept kicking out and kicking out and kicking out. And then that just, that turned into, Jordan's basically a brother to me.
Right.
I'd kill for the guy. And then that's how, and I got close to Jules the same way because we all were hanging out. And I think a lot of it comes from, we all kind of have the same mentality, and you do too, where you're not selfish. If one person does good, everybody does good.
Yeah.
And like, I get more excited when my friends are successful because I know like, that's awesome.
Right.
Like, they busted their ass.
Right.
And I think that's Jordan and I think it really clicked for us both that way because we both have a passion for the same thing.
Of course.
We both like wrestling, different things, and we're both kind of like-minded, which helps out a lot.
That's awesome. So you went to Berkeley and Harvard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
What was, and like, no memes or anything like that, just genuine curiosity. What was that experience like, and what, like, I guess, how did you get to there, and what was like, okay, so you went to Berkeley and then you went to Harvard, or you went to Harvard and then Berkeley. What was like, okay, I'm here now, I'm going to go to this next one. What was that?
So in 2020, I got furloughed.
Okay.
And I was pissed.
Right.
I was livid.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be fun. And after 3 days, I was going stir crazy.
Yeah.
Find something to do.
Yeah.
So I started looking around. I read some things online about how certain colleges were offering certain courses at a discounted rate.
Oh, okay.
And I went through it's called a micro bachelor's degree.
Interesting.
So it still counts for college credits,
Yeah.
all those different things. So I looked into it and I saw how much it was. And I'm like, that's a little steep. And then Governor DeWine is like, hey, we're actually going to double the payments we're giving everybody.
Yeah, yeah. And you're like, wow.
And I'm like, well, I can afford that.
Yeah, that's actually not that bad. Yeah.
So it was all done online.
Okay.
It was all online classes. And it was like a 2-year course. With Harvard, it was for U.S. history and constitutional studies. And so I got done with that 2-year course in about 4 weeks.
Wow.
Because it was from noon to midnight.
Yeah,
I'm just clicking,
flying.
typing, doing it.
Nice.
And so I'm looking at it. I get done with that, and I'm like, okay, let's see who else is offering something. And I mean, there were a bunch of different colleges offering things, and Cal Berkeley is a great school for journalism.
Yeah. 100%.
And it just so happened that they were offering kind of the same deal. So I'm like, all right, let's do it. Another 2-year course. I got done in about 3 weeks.
That's crazy. That's so crazy.
So, I just
you're just flying through them. You just were like, I'm gonna do this. I want to get these. I'm gonna.
So yeah, my whole thing was, how dare you furlough me? I'm gonna show you that I am the most valuable person you have. And the best part was when I came back. So I got brought back in August of 2020. And the only reason we got brought back is because the Indians started playing. So they needed more producers back to produce the games. Right. So that's why I will love the Cleveland Guardians now. I will love them forever. Right. Because without them, I wouldn't have had the opportunities that I have.
That's a good, I like that. I like hearing that.
But I made sure, the best part was when my boss found out. So I was on election coverage. And he's like, hey, send us a bio. I'm like, okay. So I purposely spelled Harvard wrong. So he would have to call me and go, did you really mean this Harvard thing? And I'm like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah. 100%.
And he's like, are you messing with me? I'm what? And I go, no, I'm serious. And he's like, well, don't you have to test in to like go there? I go, yeah.
I fucking did.
He's like, and you passed? I go, yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, okay.
That's awesome.
Okay.
That's a big fuck you.
Right. Like, how dare you think I'm not
right.
Like, with all the stuff that I did, how dare you tell me that I'm not
That's
worth
good.
keeping around?
That's good.
That's where that came from. Plus, it's always good to, get better at things.
This is a really good. I've noticed from just doing off air and stuff with you have a very good grind set of like, I'm gonna do this because I need to do this so that these people know that I'm doing this, right? Like, it's not so much like it's not like, I mean, partially it is, but it seems like it's less so proving them wrong and more so proving yourself, like proving your own personal worth of like, no, I am this fucking good. Right. And I know, like, I don't need to prove you wrong. I don't need to do this out of spite or anything. I just know my worth. And so I'm going to show you. I like that.
Yeah. It's more so like, I know in my head I could do this.
Yeah.
And I know that you don't think that I can. So not only am I going to prove myself right, but I'm going to prove you wrong. And that's really where a lot like, and it might be a little petty. I'll give you that. It's a little petty.
I mean,
but I think
there's a little bit of pettiness in any, like, that's the ego, right? Is you got to have a little bit of pettiness to like really believe in yourself, like I am the greatest and I'm going to show you and fuck you guys. Right.
Yeah. I mean, and that's really where it came from. I mean, if I just, the way that I justified in my head is I'm sure at one point in time, Henry Ford was like, you know what we need? We need these vehicles. We need a thing called a car that we're going to put this stuff into it and it's going to drive you wherever you want to go. And people are going, you're out of your fucking mind.
Right.
And he went, yeah, fuck you. Watch me.
This is a car.
Right. And then, he ended up doing it. And I think a lot of the time, some of the greatest things that we have came from fuck you, watch me do it.
I agree 100%. That's a really good, I really like that mentality a lot. So these next two are actually special edition questions from Style himself.
Oh, great.
But,
okay.
I'm going to throw them at you, and we can just see how it goes. So tell me about your time at WTM and Triv in general.
Okay. I might get emotional, legit. I might.
Hey.
My time at WTAM, it really is a dream come true. And the reason why is because I've gotten so lucky to meet the people that I have. And a lot of them have just taken me under their wing a little bit. And so like, I've worked with Bill Wills, who has 30 plus years experience, Triv, who had 30 plus years experience, Geraldo, who's 50 years experience, Munch, Greg Brinda, Dennis Maniloff. These are all people that I'm lucky enough not to only call friends, but to be able to watch how they work. With Triv, so Triv got his start in radio by just being a call-in guy. So he used to call in the Pete Franklin.
Yeah.
And he got the nickname Mr. Know-It-All. And so he would call in and do, "Oh, well, you know what they need to do. What do they need to do, Mr. Know-It-All?"
Right.
And they took a chance on Triv. Triv really didn't have much experience. He started off at NCX back in the late 80s.
Yeah.
Ray Davis was a producer at WTAM. He got hired to be program director, and he took a shot on Triv. And Triv was at WTAM from like 93 until he passed in 2021. So, I mean, he died prepping his show that day.
Wow.
He had a heart attack. And he passed away. Literally hung up with this producer and passed away.
Wow. Was he in the studio? Or?
He wasn't. He was at home.
Oh, okay.
Because of COVID and stuff, they were still doing the shows remotely.
That's crazy. But really, that's a long time.
Yeah. And, but yeah, Triv, I still think the only reason I got hired at TAM is because I could talk like Trump. I really think that's the only reason.
Your voices they're very standout.
Thank you.
I can tell that you've worked a lot on them, and like that's a thing that you do. You're very good with your voices, and I've always been like, man, that's a thing that he's got in his Rolodex of.
But I went for my interview, and I scared the hell out of Ray, because if you know anything about the Maxwell Show, it did not end great on MMS. A lot of bad things happened. And Ray asked me why I wanted to get in the radio, and I said, the Maxwell Show is something that I listen to, and I literally watched him and I go, not off air. I'm talking about like on air. On air, it was great.
Right.
And so he's walking around, he's giving me the tour, and Triv's prepping in the studio. And Ray's like, Triv, Jake can do voices, and they're pretty good. And he's like, "Oh yeah, do Trump." And I'm like, "Well, thank you so much, Triv. Fantastic to meet you. Honestly, wonderful to meet you, really." And he's like, "Oh, it's pretty good." Hey, now remind, this is the interview.
Yeah.
And Triv goes, "When Ray hires you, come back in next week, and we got Caliendo in here." And I'm like, "Okay, all right." So that was on like a Thursday. I got hired it was June 7th of 2018. No, 2019. Got hired in, and I literally, the first day that I was there, Caliendo was there. And I just got to watch the way that he does things. And because of how I sit back, so like as vocal as I am, I am very quick to shut up, take a step back and watch.
Yeah.
And Munch calls me the assassin because I'm like he would always say it on air. I'm like an assassin because I just sit back and I watch the way that people do their stuff. And I take from what they're doing, find out what will work for me, so then I could be that much more ahead.
Right.
And I was able to do that with Caliendo. And then, Triv believed in me. I don't know why. I think he saw how hard I worked and that I just loved radio. I hate bad radio. I do. I hate it.
Right.
And I was lucky enough to be able to go and do charity events with Triv. I mean, every Wednesday we were going to local police precincts, over 52 of them. Wow. And we would give them lunch.
That's awesome.
So I'd go out there with Billy Morris from Warrant, from Cherry Pie. He plays the lead guitar on that. With his food truck, Smoking Rock and Roll. Look them up on Facebook. They're great.
Sick.
And we would go and we would feed the police. And we would go to all these different police precincts. And Triv trusted me enough a few times to go out on their behalf.
Oh,
that's the craziest thing. So when
that's pretty big.
You have a rock star introducing you, and then I met Congressman Max Miller.
Oh, okay.
Through those events, and I'm lucky enough to say that he's a friend.
That's cool. That's very awesome.
So to have this rock star go from WTAM, we have Jake Underwood, and running for Congress, Max Miller, and they're handing me a microphone, and I get to talk.
Right.
But Triv was so cool, man. He really was, and for him to just, I mean, he would call in and heckle me when I'm on air.
That's good.
So like he would, the one time. I still think I'm the only person to have enough balls to hang up on him live on air on TAM. I was hosting and he called in And it was something about Congress.
Right.
And he starts, "You damn millennials, all you do is bitch." And he's coming at me on air. And I'm like, I just remember in my head just snapping.
You're
and then I'm like, really, Triv? How many millennials are in Congress right now that are passing all these laws? Yeah. Name one. All you do is bitch. It's everybody else's fault.
That's good.
And I hang up on him. and it like dawned on me what I did. And I go, well, that was Mike Trevisano. We'll be back. And I go to break. But the funniest thing that I did, because it just clicked in my head, first show, I'm nervous as hell. So my first show was a 3-hour time slot by myself. And normally you have somebody running your board. Yeah. I ran my own board.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's
a lot going on for 3 hours too.
Right. So I had to make sure we were on time to hit news, the commercials lined up, all of it.
Right.
So that first segment, I was nervous, man, and it came across on air.
No, yeah, I know what you. Yeah.
And so I go to break, and I go, feel free to call in 216-578-1007, 1-800-348-1007. I gave out the MMS number.
Oh no!
So I'm wondering why nobody's calling.
Oh no!
And I get a call from Seth Williams, and he goes, "Hey," I'm like, "What's up?" He goes, "You don't realize what you did, do you?" I go, "No, what did I do?" He's like, "You gave out the MMS number." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, you gave out the MMS number. Put me on hold and bring me on air." And I'm like, "Oh my God." So I go, I play the music coming back and, the big voice guy, Jake Underwood, News Radio, WTAM. And I'm like, "We got Seth Williams on the line. Apparently I made a mistake." Seth, what's going on? He's like, "Yeah, I called MMS. Nobody answered." And I'm like, "Oh my God. No."
That's good.
And he's like, "Well, you weren't kidding when you said you listened to MMS growing up, though, huh?" And I'm like, "Nope." I'm like, "You know what it was, man?" I go, "That's the station I always did for my demos."
Okay.
I always did. I'd put like some Godsmack song with a long fucking intro, and then "Hey, you're listening to the Buzzer One." I would do that, and I'd say call in, and and it just rolls right off the tongue to the point.
Muscle memory. Yeah.
Right. I still mess up if I have to give out the phone number, and I have to make sure, like in my head, I'm 1-800 or 216-578-1100 or E1100, But yeah, that was
that E1100 is
right.
That's
and
a mental
I
got
yeah, I'm really good at making an ass out of myself live on air. It happens quite a bit.
Yeah, okay, follow-up question with that one though. So I hear you didn't blow anyone away with your audition. What's going on with that?
Wow.
Again, right. I don't know. I don't have much context for these, but so for the sake of the interview, right?
So when Triv passed, Triv and I had a conversation. I'm not going to get like in depth because that's a conversation between Triv and I.
Right, of course.
I had never hosted before. I would host here and there. I had maybe 10 hosting shifts under my belt. And Triv and I met. We had lunch, and he basically told me like, "Hey, I think you could be the future. I think you could be the future here. I think you got it." So I had quit. I had quit at iHeart 2 days before Triv had passed. So the last time I actually have the recording of the last time Triv and I spoke, because I was talking to him through the board. That's tough. I thanked him for everything.
That's tough.
Because a lot of the opportunities I've gotten are because of Triv and Bill Wills. Right. I'm just, right. I just work my ass off, and I've been lucky enough to have the right people notice that,
No, that's awesome.
And so I'm sitting there. I started this job. It was working from home. I was working for Viacom, CBS. I was putting station commercials together for like CMT, BET, all these places.
Right.
And I'm actually so the way that I got that job was through a friend of mine who was a producer at TAM, Brad. And I'm talking to Brad on the phone while working from home, because we're both working at the same company. And I go, "Whoa, Ray's calling me. Hold on." And I will say, Ray Davis is an incredible boss.
Okay.
So even when you're not working for him, Ray will just randomly call you to see how you're doing.
That's nice. That's good. Yeah, that's a good sign.
So I get a call from Ray. This is maybe a week after he passed. And then real quick, when he did pass, some things just line up.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to get the stuff for the work at home job on a Friday. It didn't come until the following Tuesday.
Okay.
Now it just so happened that Triv's funeral was on the Friday, and his wake was on the Monday. It's just the way that things work out sometimes.
Yeah, that's the universe.
100%. And that happens a lot.
Yes.
And for me, I'm not cocky enough to go, well, that's coincidence. No, it's given you whether it's the universe or it's God, whatever it is, it's given it to you for a reason.
Yeah.
So follow it.
Yeah.
So I was lucky. I was able to go to Triv's funeral.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was able to watch his wake. I didn't go to his wake, but I was able to watch it on YouTube.
Right.
And then like a week after that, I get a call from Ray, and Ray's like, "Hey Jake, would you want to audition?" And I'm like, "For what?" He's like, "For Afternoon Drive. Would you want to audition for it? You know, we're bringing people in." Jake, I'll be honest with you, I don't know if you'll get it, but it's great. It's a great experience. It's good to put on a resume. It's good to get that demo out there.
Right.
And I knew it was a long shot.
Yeah.
But I mean, I approached that show the way that I would anything, and I was told I didn't blow anyone away. But at the same time,
so that's where that.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
But at the same time, I was able to go do radio with one of my best friends, Seth Williams, who's no longer working there.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to do it with Carmen Angelo, who is a dear friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to talk to Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Whoa.
Jim Jordan.
Yeah.
You know, these are all guys that called in to talk to me.
That's pretty cool.
Right. You know, that's the craziest part. Yeah, so I did it for 2 days. Mm-hmm. I could tell by the second day they weren't feeling it.
Oh, okay. Okay, you got that.
I could tell. Yeah. Because it was just one of these like, I'll tell you right now what did me in.
Mm-hmm.
It was the day of the Michigan high school shooting. And I didn't talk about it. I didn't talk about it because I refused to speculate about dead kids. They don't give a shit what my opinion is.
Right.
The news guy's going to handle that every half an hour. The news guy's going to know more than me.
Yeah, right.
So I refuse to speculate about anything
of course,
like
yeah,
that.
And that's a morally good, you know, like. Yeah.
But it just so happened the guy who went in there to host after me, which is not the guy who ended up getting the job. This is somebody else, and he's going, you know what they're going to try to do? They're going to try to take away our guns. Like, come on, that's such hackery.
Yeah,
and I said earlier, I hate bad radio, but that was bad radio.
Yeah.
Like it was
really,
a terrible like Rush Limbaugh wannabe impersonation type thing.
Yeah.
Anyways,
really, yeah.
But I was told I didn't blow anyone away in my audition.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
where that comes from.
That's where that comes from. But I mean, I was lucky enough to get that opportunity because there were a lot of people a lot better than I am, and a lot more experienced that asked for an audition and they were told no.
Yeah. I mean, that's still, regardless, that's still like to get your demo out there and then to actually do that's still awesome experience.
Right. And the coolest thing was I was actually able to go on air and talk about how much Triv meant to me.
That's very good. I like that.
And like, I knew I wasn't going to get the job. And I kind of addressed it in the first segment. And I go, look, whoever gets this job, and if it's not me, that's fine. But whoever gets it, they better understand how important this time slot is.
Yeah.
Because this time slot stands for truth and it stands for no BS. You know, they know they're going to get a straight shooter. They don't want that gimmicky stuff.
Right.
And I hope you realize that whoever gets this job,
because
it means a lot to a lot of people.
Good on you. Good on you.
So I was able to stand up for what I believe in. So that meant a lot to me.
So just in general, I know we've talked about a decent amount of it already, but just give me your whole Rolodex or whatever you can spew out of the things that you have done that are radio related or media related in general. Just some big.
So I got my start. I was calling drag races in West Salem, Ohio at Dragway 42. I did that for about 2 weeks.
That's loud, huh?
Yeah.
Was it like hard to like talk on or would you not talk when they were going?
I would talk while they were going. It was rough because I really didn't know much about it. But I was very good at reading the commercials.
Fair enough.
And I was very good at what is it? What was it? Unleaded diesel ethanol at Dragway 42. We've got it all. Stupid stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're doing better now. When I first got the job, they had just got a new owner. And she was very passionate about it, but she didn't know all the politicking that had gone on behind the scenes.
Got you.
And there were people that didn't want me there, and that's fine. And it was one of those where I'm looking at it and I'm going, I like the owner.
Yeah.
The owner is a sweet woman.
Yeah.
I could tell she's trying. I don't have time for this politicking. I really don't. I'm trying to, move up.
Right. Good on you.
And I did that for about 2-3 weeks. And I never got my last paycheck. That's fine. But so then after that, I worked at the Ohio Media School for a little bit. I was their social media coordinator.
Okay. And what was that literally just like posting on their socials?
Oh, okay. So the guy who was my boss at the time thought he knew everything about social media. Fun. Right. Now, I don't know why, I'm very good at getting followers on social media, except for my own. Right?
Yeah.
So like, for instance, a friend of mine, she's thinking about getting into Twitch. She's got like one of the spicy links, all that stuff. And she asked for my help on stuff. She started an account. In a week, she got 200 followers. Dude. Because you just gotta know the hashtags. You just gotta know when to post.
The algorithm and
yeah. And then on Instagram, she's at like 13,000. It's insane. Yeah. Anyways, but so I did that for a little bit. I was then let go because at the time my mom had cancer.
Nice. Good on them. Nice.
Which,
real cool.
To their credit, I have since gotten an apology for the way all that went down.
Oh, that's okay. That's
right. So credit to them. Yeah. The guy who fired me didn't apologize, but people who were around at that time did. So I mean,
take what you can get. Yeah.
Right. So then I was at iHeart. That started June of 19. I was 2 days a week for the first 4 months. I was just weekends. I was getting maybe 12 hours a week. It was there was a show that Anthony Alford and I did. I was his producer. It was Halloween, and we broke down Halloween songs. And we did a full play-by-play and breakdown of Will Smith's Nightmare on Elm Street song.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it just so happened that that's when Ray Day. Now, remind you, this is a conservative talk station where a little black guy and myself are breaking down a Will Smith song, but people loved it. Yeah. And we went with the tagline of "This Ain't Your Daddy's TAM." So people went with it. They liked it. That's awesome. And it just so happened that that's what Ray air checked. He brought us into a room. He broke it down for Anthony and I, and we left. And I got a call, and he's like, "Hey, would you want to get more hours?" I'm like, "Definitely." Yeah. And so then that's when I got the opportunity to work with Geraldo Rivera. I was his phone screener basically, but I was a fill-in for when his producer wasn't able to be there. Okay. And so I got to know Geraldo. We'd go out drinking, all that different stuff. And this is the Geraldo that's covered wars for CNN, Fox, NBC.
Big name.
He had the Geraldo show back in the day. The KKK member threw the chair at his face, broke his nose. Right. Yeah. So Geraldo right away when he realized, because when I got started, I was 27. And that was the same time he started in media. So he and I kind of clicked. Yeah. And which was awesome. But he would bring me on for bits. He found out I could sing. So he would have me sing coming back from the break. He'd be like, "Is Jake in there?" "Yeah, why? What's up?" "Sing New York, New York," when we come back.
That's funny.
And I'm like, "How long until we're back?" 15 seconds.
All right.
All right, we're doing it. So, so I did that. And then I started getting some hosting shifts here and there. I was able to, Ram Ford Truck Month guy, Uncle Charlie's Sausage, the official sausage of the Cleveland Indians. I was that voice, did some stuff here and there. And when COVID hit, got furloughed. Yes. So that's one start, one stop. So two. Yeah. Was brought back in August, left in November.
Okay. Putting on the ticks now.
So that's 4.
Getting some notches in that belt.
So since 2019, since June of 2019, I have 5 start and stop dates with one company. I mean, because I was then brought back, ironically enough, April 1st of last year. So 2022, I was brought back, and now I'm full-time news reporter and anchor journalist. I'm writing articles, editing videos, all that stuff.
That's awesome. So, that's very, very awesome.
It's been a wild ride.
Fun question. I like this one a lot. I feel like your answer is going to be good. But if you could host anything, any kind of radio show, any platform, any time, any medium, whether that be late night talk show or, daytime Ellen style or radio show, whatever. What if you could host something, what would you host?
Ooh. I would want a 7 to midnight show.
Okay.
Because Safe Harbor, you can do whatever the hell you want. So the first few hours, be decent, and then once
be
that
BPC for a little bit, and then
once that hits, it's just a free for all.
Right.
But I would that or morning drive. I would be good. I wouldn't want it on a news station though, because it wouldn't be very news related. But I wouldn't want it on a rock station either, because rock stations are for rock music.
Right.
Just my opinion. But yeah, I would want to do one of those two. And see, TV for me is weird.
I was gonna say, so it would be radio.
I could see myself getting into TV eventually, and it's been offered.
Okay, that's an interesting, because you have anchored, you've been on radio. I was kind of curious about that as well. Has that ever been?
It's been offered, and I've had a few people reach out. Just where I'm at right now, it's a really good place to grow, and it's a good place to get better.
Okay.
So that's why I'm kind of just staying put there. But I've had offered. It would be weird doing TV.
You think?
It would. Yeah, because especially news, because I'm so used to being able. News people got it easy when it comes to TV, and I'll tell you why. So they have 2 minutes to explain one story. I have 2 minutes to tell you 4.
I see.
So we have to break things down from, we'll be reading a paragraph where, Governor DeWine set out on this sunny day to go talk to the people of East Palestine. And whereas we have to go, Governor DeWine was in East Palestine today and spoke to high school students about how they could become better. You know what I mean? Like,
right. You have to really condense.
So we have to take what's 6 sentences and put it into 3.
Yeah.
And make it so that all the details are there.
Yeah. Yeah. Very much.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It really is. And thank God for Grammarly. Because there are days where I am brain dead.
It seems like that's like a lot of mental gymnastics of like, how can I reword this to make it perfect and everything fit? Yeah.
And then on top of it, you don't want it to be cop speak.
Yeah.
I will get lectures if there's cop speak. So it's not residents, it's people.
Yeah.
It's not the suspect was apprehended. No, the person was arrested.
Okay.
So
I see
you want to keep it as conversational as possible because you want it to flow.
Right.
Now, where the issue lies in that is everybody talks differently.
Of course. Yeah.
So where I might say, the guy was determined to do this, others might say, well, he wanted to do it. So it's different dialect for different people.
Yes.
There's a lot in it.
I believe that.
But yeah, TV would be weird. I don't know how I would feel about TV.
And then you said it wouldn't be like heavy news. It would kind of just be like goofy style stuff, or like more lighthearted style.
That's what TV seems to be.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
okay. I'm saying though, for your hypothetical.
Show.
Oh
yeah, for the show, yeah, it would be. I mean, we would cover some of the stuff that's going on.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, I think for the most part, it would be, or take the serious issue, talk about it, but break it down that it's just stupid. I think people put way too much substance into just regular things now.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I see that.
Like everything has to have a purpose.
Yeah, everything is.
Like if
this is the main focus. Yeah, on it, super.
And it's no, it's just something that happened.
Yeah, right.
You got to be like a duck's ass to water and just let it run off. You notice you never seen a duck's ass wet?
Yeah, no, never.
Like
it
water,
runs off.
Right?
It runs right off.
And so, like, yeah, it's. I just think this is with all media, and it really does bother me. I think that the priorities are just so out of whack, and there needs to be like a soft reset.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I see that.
Yeah.
You do sports. Do you like sports? If so, why?
Why do I like sports?
Yeah. I mean, half meme joke or half meme question, half real question. Just because I've never been a sports guy, I know that you do some sports talk.
Yep.
Just I don't know. What's your relationship with sports and media? I guess.
So I did a lot of Indians pregame shows.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was cool. Tribe Insider. That was pretty. I mean.
And is that from the studio? Is that from Progressive? Or
that's from the studio.
Okay.
So yeah, that's from the studio, but like we would have to go through all like the sponsors.
Yeah.
So I was excited. So I got to be like, here's the Are You Kidding Me play of the day brought to you by I-90 Nissan, BigNissan.com. Like I got to say that. Cool. So that was kind of cool.
No, I see that.
Like 2 years ago, I was big into sports. I was. Now, not so much. I mean, I want the Browns to do well. I want the Cavs to do well. Guardians, especially Guardians and Cavs, because we cover them.
Of course.
I just think it's a weird concept to me
that sports.
Well, not so much sports, but I got multimillionaires lecturing me. That's weird. I don't like that. Yeah, like
no,
that's
yeah.
Like it's odd to me, and you know, I just I like watching the game because I like the game. I don't care who the player is. That's why I watch the XFL. I watch the highlights of the XFL. I don't know who those players are.
No, yeah,
I just like football.
Of course.
I like to watch good football.
I like that answer.
And like, yeah, I'm kind of over the whole everybody's gotta like grandstand. You know what I mean? Like,
I think that too ties in with like, I always want to tie it back to this kind of shit, but the internet and media and those sports, the athletes becoming celebrities.
Yeah.
You know, and so then their opinion and what they say is now held to a higher standard, which I mean, they're people and they should have their opinions heard and right. But like now it's like if LeBron James says something about the US government, word is bond, and like you have to follow that, and that's how everyone's opinion has to be now. And it's like, whoa, hold on, man.
Yeah, and see, you know? I feel that both sides. Like who was Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley is like completely right wing. He needs to shut up. Like the same way LeBron, just shut up.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
no, yeah.
Like I kind of feel this. Remember during the 2016 election, who was it? Eminem came out with that song about Donald Trump.
Yes.
Like, I get why he did it, but at the same time, dude, you haven't had a bad day in 30 years. You haven't struggled for 30 years.
Amen.
You don't know how inflation's impacting people.
You don't need to be writing this song.
You're just as bad as the people in Congress that are saying that they're sitting here to help.
Amen.
So why are you opening your mouth about anything?
Yeah.
And that's why, like, Tim Allen, like we joke around about Tim Allen. I don't know if you've ever heard him talk about it, but he says he basically feels the same way like you and I do, where he's like, I'm not going to talk about politics unless somebody asks me, because I don't know what people are going through. I have money. Like
that's a very like based take from a celebrity. You know, it's like I am too disconnected from what the real world is now to actually see the effects.
Like they celebrities don't know the feeling of going, all right, I got $20. It's Monday. I don't get paid until Friday. Am I getting gas or am I eating today?
Yeah.
They don't know that
they don't
feeling.
Get that feeling.
And a lot of people know that feeling. So when I have a multi-millionaire who's making $40 million from the team that he's playing on, plus another 60 from the endorsement deal that he just signed. Yeah. Plus when he goes to sign his books somewhere, he's getting paid for that. You know, like
everything is a payday.
Yeah, I don't need to hear it.
Yeah, no, that's a good take. I like that. It has become a little overwashed with like celebrityism, I guess maybe would be how you put that.
Because like Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth or like the Browns back in the 40s and 50s, what made those people, those players so likable is because like Babe Ruth was just a guy. That's what made it so cool.
Average Joe. Yeah.
Like I always hear the stories about the Browns in the 80s. Like those are the heydays.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So people that I know that covered those teams, they're like, I see Bernie once or twice a week. You'd have no idea that he was one of the best quarterbacks to play.
Right. No,
like he just walks in. Hey Jake, how are you? Hey Bernie, what's going on?
Yeah, I've heard specifically about like the '80s era Browns. Is like those were just working dudes who every Sunday decided, or every Monday night decided to go out and play some pigskin.
Yeah,
like they were they went to their job, they went to the bar, normal people.
So the reason, if you ever look at an old football card and it says taxi squad, that's because the practice squad would drive taxis around Cleveland. That's how they made money.
That's
But
awesome.
I always hear stories about, and we always compare it to like when OBJ was on the team and Baker and all these guys. So back in the 80s, Hanford Dixon and Frank Minifield were two cornerbacks for the Browns. And they would host an hour radio show at a bar somewhere.
Okay.
The whole team would show up. So you'd have like Webster Slaughter, who was one of the good receivers at the time, and Bernie Kosar, Clay Matthews, all these great players. Right. They're just sitting there at the bar.
That's really
like you could just buy him a drink.
Yeah, that's very hometown.
OBJ's not doing that. Jarvis Landry's not. Those guys aren't doing that. Yeah. And I understand why they wouldn't, because people are nuts. But people were nuts back then too. Yeah. They just weren't getting likes and retweets on social media.
Again, it's the internet, man. It's that celebrityism that polarizes us from them. It's like whoa, oh my god. When back in the day, you would see these people at a bar, or you'd bump into them at work, whatever. Like it was a much more human interaction with those people, whereas now it's this person is above me, and oh my gosh.
And like the funniest thing about it is like the whole reason like the American Revolution happened, if we go way back then, it's because we didn't like that stuff.
Right,
Like we didn't like this royalty being put up on this pedestal just because, and like we created. That's why I can't stand the royal wedding.
Yeah,
I can't do it. Like I don't care.
Yeah, I agree. All right, you're old. Okay. So what's that like? Tell me about your age.
What, being 30?
I don't know. What's it? I mean,
my knees crack.
I don't know. What's it like? Being okay. So like, when did you start radio, and what's it like? Or okay, how about let's phrase it like this: you started listening to radio when you were young.
Yes.
You're doing radio now. Sometime in between there, you got into radio, right? What have you seen in your time change, whether that be dramatically or just like keen eye you notice with radio? Like what are the big things that over time with your viewing and participating in radio have you noticed change?
So when I started, iHeart was a like 60,000 square foot floor in the middle of Independence. We were in an office building, and now we're downtown, and there's maybe 50 desks. So it's cut down a lot. Yeah. We always make the joke that the top employee auto's going to come in because automation is running like crazy.
Okay, I got you.
And going back to an episode of Off Air, I don't know if you've heard this, but radio GPT.
ChatGPT?
Yeah. They're doing radio now.
What?
Where they program in what they're going to talk about. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And so then it's just, instead of a DJ, it's just...
Yep.
Wow.
And I'll tell you what's really scary for me. That's made by a company called Futuri, which is partnered with iHeart Cleveland. That's who we...
getting a little too close to home, right?
And they're based out of Independence.
Real close to home.
I had like 5 or 6 people send me this article about this, and I'm going, wow.
God.
But I mean, when I started, people didn't work from home. There are people that I don't know if they still work for the company, if they're just working from home now.
That's wild. That's a very wild one.
It's strange.
So with like 2020 COVID hitting and stuff like that, are there a lot of like anchors and hosts and stuff like that that'll just do their whole thing from home?
Some.
Really?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Some traffic people, some news people will.
That's very wild.
Some hosts do.
Right.
I'll tell you, the craziest thing, you brought up COVID, and this is, so we had a COVID scare in 2020. We actually had to shut the station down.
Oh, that's no good.
So I was I had to take WTAM, this 100-year-old station, off air.
Was it the first time it's ever?
It was first time in a while. So we were sending up WLW, which is our sister station down in Cincinnati. We had to connect to their transmitters and play their broadcast.
Yeah, that's a process.
And then 2 days later, because they came and they got everything deep cleaned, I got to bring it back on air. But it was just wild.
I bet that was a lot. Like bringing it back on was a lot better. Like that
felt,
that felt
but it was just strange though, because it happened so quick. Because somebody had tested positive. I was sitting in the studio with the producer for Geraldo's show, and Geraldo is like, "What's going?" Because Geraldo would do his shows from home sometimes, and he's like, "What's going on?" And we're like, "We're shutting everything down." So my boss walks in, tells his producer to leave. He's like, "Jake, you stay here with me. We're gonna shut it down." And I'm like, okay, all right, okay. And he's like, "And as soon as we do that, grab your stuff and you got to get out of here." And I'm like, "When am I coming back?" He's like, "Just go grab your stuff.
Don't even worry about it."
Okay. And then it was like a week after that, we all got furloughed. So yeah, but it's changed a lot because now people could work from home.
Yeah.
Like there was somebody who retired like a month ago. I had no idea who she was. She worked there for 40 years.
Wow.
No idea who she was.
At home. Right.
So she was working at home.
That's crazy. That's a crazy change. And I guess, I mean, it's sign of the times, but like still just to be able to do the entire radio thing from your home and then also have people corresponding and helping aid in that radio thing from their home.
Yeah.
That seems a little...
It's weird.
Yeah, it seems a little weird.
It's a strange feeling.
Yeah. Last question.
Okay.
Do you really heart radio? Just with what you do now and stuff like that. I figured it was an appropriate question.
I do.
Good.
I do. I heart radio.
There we go.
Yes,
That's
do.
what I was looking for.
That's funny.
Jake Underwood, everyone. Styles Rebel Radio. You can check him out on iHeart as well. Jake, thanks for doing this interview. Honestly, it was a good time. I'm glad we did this.
Hey, no problem. Thank you.
Of course. And yeah, check us out, Styles Rebel Radio, off air, bi-weekly. Yeah. Bye, everyone.